Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we're going to give some more speaking feedback, this time with Shakib's test. So let's jump straight in. Good afternoon, my name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
My full name's Shakib, but just call me Shakib.
Okay. Audio quality really isn't great, and so when the audio quality is bad, sometimes it's difficult to tell, if something is a mispronunciation or if it's just a microphone problem. But okay, we'll survive. Thank you. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from Dhaka, which is the capital city of Bangladesh, close to the heart of the city. And this city has huge population. Almost 15 million people have lived in the city.
Almost 15 million people have lived. Why have lived? What does that mean? They have lived what in throughout the history of Dhaka? So it's just the wrong tense here. And sometimes candidates do this, right? They think, okay, I want to use more complex grammar, so I'll take, something like present perfect, I have done, you have done, he has done, she has done, and I will just use this, right? So 15 million people have lived in this country. But that's not how we use present perfect. Present perfect actually talks about past. I have done something means in the past. I guess you talk about the population right now, so 15 million people live. So there's an attempt at complex grammar, but it's not accurately used. And do you live in this city now?
Yes, right now I live in city because I'm studying there, so that's why I have to live in the city.
Cool, that's nice development. And what do you like most about Dhaka?
To be honest, the outdoor facilities is quite good.
To be honest, I don't know, but to be honest, we often use when we give like negative opinions about something. What did you think of this film? To be honest, I didn't like it. I don't know, it sounds a bit strange. To be honest, I like the outdoor facilities. I don't know what that means. Maybe give an example.
in this in the city. First of all, actually, I always enjoy playing sports like
Okay, cool, nice development.
cricket, football. So in this city has huge place
This city has, in this city, there are a lot of, or this city has, but not in this city has huge place.
for people to playing cricket or football. So that is the thing I mostly like in the city.
Cool, that is the thing that I mostly like. Nice little cleft sentence. Good, good, good. And does the city have a lot of tourists?
Right now, actually, people
Had a few actuallys already.
are a little bit struggling to stay in the city because this city has huge population.
Okay, maybe give a direct answer first, right? I understand you're kind of explaining the reason why there are not so many tourists, but start with the most obvious bit of information, the direct answer to the question. So if there's a question like, does your city have a lot of tourists? No, not right now. And then give the reason. Don't give the reason and then give the answer.
At the same time, the city has noise problem and the air pollution is quite poor right
Okay, good vocab.
now. So that's why people are a little bit struggling to stay in the city.
People are a little bit struggling. So we've had this, people are struggling twice already, but question is about tourists. And I guess I can kind of make sense that because of these problems, there aren't many tourists. But at no point has the candidate told me that there are not many tourists in the city.
So right now we could see there are less people.
Okay, there are less people, maybe fewer people is more accurate, but less people, that's the type of mistake a native speaker of English could make. Absolutely fine. And it kind of makes sense that I can guess that there are not so many tourists, but again, the candidate just hasn't told me if Dhaka has a lot of tourists or not.
They visit the city, and so yeah.
Okay, less people that visit the city. We kind of got there in the end. And do you think you will continue living in Dhaka in the future?
To be honest, I
We get another to be honest.
haven't any plan to live in this.
I haven't any plan. This is an interesting one. Some examiners might say there's nothing wrong with that grammatically. I haven't any plan. I would say it's a mistake. I don't have any plan, or I haven't got any plan is correct. I haven't any plan. To me, that's a mistake. But I know that there are some people in the world of, teaching English that find that acceptable.
City because still now I'm struggling when I go outside.
Again, we get this I'm struggling. So we've had actually a few times, to be honest, a few times. I'm struggling a few times. Candidate, has his favorite bits of language that he's already repeating.
It's quite difficult for me to get public transport, for example, buses or metro, and people are really struggling. At the same time,
Again, we get people are really struggling. That's 3 times.
it also more difficult for me to spend my free times because right now this
The question is, are you planning to continue living here in the future? Simple yes or no, right? No, I'm not planning to live here in the future. I have plans actually to go and study abroad, and I'm hoping to do this in 2 years. Or, yeah, I think I'll stay here in the future. I mean, of course, the city has problems, but I like living here, and so, I don't see any reason to change. That's enough. Don't need to go so far off topic.
city has huge population, and this
City has huge population. We've spoken about this already.
population continue growing. So that's why I think in the future it will be more difficult for me to live in this city.
Let's talk about mobile. I think already 3 or 4 times he spoke about like it's difficult for me or it's difficult for them. Mobile phones now. How often? So I'm trying to get off the subject of Dhaka now. So it's like, okay, we're done with Dhaka. I know that we're just going to get like struggling air pollution problems, population. Let's move to another topic and see how the candidate does. How often do you use your mobile phone?
Well, right now I every day try to use smartphone.
Well, right now I every day try to use smartphone. It's a little bit strange. Well, right now I every day. So the order of the words here, every day should go at the end or at the beginning, but not in the middle. I every day. It's just a little bit unnatural. It doesn't create any confusion. The meaning is still clear, but it's just not natural use of word order.
Because it's most important for me because my whole study largely depend on smartphone.
My whole study largely depends on smartphone. I think that's what he's saying, and it should be like on my smartphone. And I think he said depend instead of depends, but it's difficult to hear because of the audio.
For example, my listening and my speaking.
My study largely depends on my smartphone. For example, my listening and my speaking. But what studying are you talking about? I don't know here. Are you talking about studying for IELTS or studying for something else? Because you haven't explained this.
So that's why I would say every day I use
Cool. I would say is nice.
smartphone.
Okay, and then we get a recap of the main idea. A little bit repetitive, but okay, fine. And how old were you when you got your first phone?
When I was in school, probably that was the time I got my first phone. Because that is the time actually I started
Game, we get some more actually.
to start. I started online class. So that's time my father he bought a phone for me to online class. So yeah, that was
He bought a phone for me to online class. I don't know, to online class, what that means really.
the first time I bought a smartphone.
And how often do you actually make phone calls on your smartphone?
Well, actually, right
Get some more well, some more actually.
now I live with my family members, so that's why I usually avoid to call smartphone.
Get this usually, very often we see this with Bangladeshi candidates. They have a problem with this j sound, so they say usually instead of usually. But it's just part of the Bangladeshi accent, I guess.
Call phone, but sometimes I call with my friends.
Call my friends, not call with my friends. So again, these are just tiny little mistakes, right? But they all build up. So, when we think about mistakes, the most important thing is that the mistakes don't create confusion for the listener. And that's true with this candidate. I understand everything that he's trying to say, but the majority of sentences have some type of mistake. I would say pretty much every sentence so far has some small mistake, and those build up, right? And they, would stop you from getting those higher marks. I think, if the vast majority of your sentences have some type of mistake and some of those mistakes are with basic grammar, you can probably say goodbye to the 7 for grammar.
And I go outside to that time I talk with them. At the same times, sometimes while
Again, at the same times. Again, just tiny little errors, right? Instead of at the same time, candidate says at the same times.
my relatives, they uh, when sometimes I talk with my relatives when something is
Again, also has this Bangladeshi accent with the when, right? So when in at least received pronunciation standard British English doesn't have the h sound. So it's not when, but when. Just when, why, where, when, why, where. Not when, where, but just when, why, where.
more necessary. So that's time I call with my relatives.
Now let's move. That answer's just a little bit confusing in terms of coherence, but okay, we're fine. Let's move on. Move on and talk about birthdays. Do you like celebrating your birthday?
To be honest, I
Okay, we get it. To be honest, so a little bit getting repetitive.
actually
And another actually.
in my family, it's a religious family, so that's why we always
And again, that's why. Now, I like that's why I think it's okay to use it quite a lot, but just be careful that you don't use it too much.
try to avoid birthday. And
Okay, I didn't know this about like conservative religious families in Bangladesh that they avoid birthdays. Sorry for my ignorance. Yeah, I guess not everybody celebrates their birthday. I don't really celebrate my birthday either, not for religious reasons, but I just just don't.
yes, we celebrated birthday, but not like the people those that right now celebrate their birthday. I celebrate my birthday in
So we get celebrate my birthday, celebrate my birthday, celebrate my birthday. Just that same pattern repeated like 3 times.
different way. In my birthday, I like to do something to help the poor peoples and not
Again, people or peoples. Again, these tiny little mistakes they just build up.
waste money in different way. I like to I spend my money to poor people, like especially in our
I spend my money to poor people. It should be, oh, to poor peoples. He says it should be, I spend my money on poor people. So again, these tiny, tiny, tiny mistakes, but they are just prevalent. They are just everywhere in the candidate's speech. Again, it won't stop you, probably won't stop you from getting, you can still get band 5, band 6. So it's not going to completely destroy your score, but with so many frequent errors, we can say goodbye to the C1.
country, there are huge students there. They can't get proper education, and they haven't.
Again, proper educations instead of proper education. I won't mention, I won't go over every mistake. I'll only do this in part 1, just because I think it's useful for you, the candidate, and anyone else to watch, just to see how often these mistakes happen. I won't do it in part 2, part 3, because I don't want the video to be, 3 hours long. But it is worth focusing on a lot of the tiny mistakes here.
Face problem to get food, and they
Face problems is good. I like that.
they're also struggling to get good
Game we get they struggling. So this is, I think, the 4th time the candidate, or maybe the 5th time the candidate has used this word struggle.
books or so like that. So I try to give this kind of thing them.
I try to keep this types of things them. Again, I just don't know. I think, and I don't know why it happens, but many people from Bangladesh, Pakistan, and India have a similar pattern in their English where it's like machine gun fire, where there's so much coming out, and it feels like candidates are often in a rush to get their language out. And I just wish they would, just calm down, think a bit more carefully about the language choices that you make, and say what you want to say in a kind of a slower way, in a clearer way, but most importantly, simplifying your ideas, saying a little bit less, maybe not going so much off topic, just keeping things simple. How do you usually celebrate your birthday? And now the candidate is talking about helping poor people, and because they're struggling with their lives and he wants to help them to get an education. It's too much, right? How do you usually, or the question was, do you like celebrating your birthday? To be honest, I'm from a religious family, and so it's not really traditional for us to celebrate birthdays, especially in like a big way with a party or something like this. But, I still celebrate my birthday at home with my family. Am I a big fan of it? Not really, but, it's okay. That's fine. That's enough of an answer. We don't need to go into too much details. We don't need to rush and try to get all of the information out. And I try to help other poor people, because poor people, for me, it's really important, because these people are struggling a lot, and I think it's important for them to get the proper education. Don't go too far off topic. You'll lose your listener. Sorry. And when was the last time when you received any kind of gift or present? So kind of, because the candidate doesn't really celebrate birthdays in his culture, I thought I would change the question and just talk about any type of gift.
During last summer, that was the time
Just last summer. We don't need during.
I received a gift from my
Again, we get I receive a gift instead of I received, right?
a gift uh,
Let's just go
from
back, sorry.
a gift.
Sorry. When you received any kind of gift or present?
During last summer, that was the time I received a gift
Receive a gift. I didn't hear the past tense. Received a gift. I heard receive a gift, but again, the audio isn't perfect.
from my cousin. Actually, that was
Another
the
actually.
time I traveled in Chattogram.
Okay, traveled. We do get past time here. Nice.
So that's time actually I went to
Again, we get that's time. Is it this time or that time? It sounds like that's time.
shopping, and so I'm just going for a purchase of
I'm just going. So candidates talking about the past and then starts using I'm just going. Again, it's just very basic. But in English we have past time, we have present time, we have future time, we have a variety of tenses that can talk about present time and past time, a variety of different structures that can talk about future time. One thing that we don't use when we're talking about past time is I'm just going, right? That's present continuous.
phone, especially for him. But this time I could see a T-shirt which is really amazing, and
I could see in the past a t-shirt which is really amazing. I guess that could work.
but this time I haven't money. But
This time I haven't money. So again, candidate doesn't, he has used a couple of past time constructions like could and traveled, but it's about 50-50 in terms of accuracy. So I cannot say that we can rely on the candidate to produce basic grammatical sentences correctly.
he gave me, and so yeah, this is the last time
He give me should be he gave me.
I received something from
This is the last time I receive instead of received.
others.
Okay, thank you. All right, so comments on part one. I will not go through every grammar mistake like this for part two and part three, but grammatical accuracy is very weak. He gets the basic structure right. We get subject, verb, object. Cool. The verb forms are almost always wrong. Not always, but almost always wrong. There are some nice bits of grammar, like he used a cleft sentence earlier, and I just can't remember what that example was exactly. We do have like some infinitives, like I like to do something. So there are certainly, the basic elements of grammar those basic elements are okay. But in this indicative mood, I won't go too technical. All of the verb forms, the verb groups are almost always wrong, especially when it's past time. Yeah. Now, sorry. Anything else? Pronunciation is pretty clear. A couple of times I've maybe missed something because of maybe audio, but pronunciation is generally clear. I think the candidate does have decent intonation, but I do think that he's speaking a little bit too quickly. And sometimes when candidates speak a little bit too quickly, then the intonation kind of disappears a little bit, and you can kind of hear it in my voice right now. So if you speak too quickly, it will negatively affect your intonation in most cases. And that kind of affects your fluency too. We want a natural flow of speech, and sometimes some of your answers, they're a little bit machine gunny, where it's like where it's just point after point after point. This makes the flow a little bit unnatural, but it'll also, you lose coherence when you drift off topic and you try to give too much information. Yeah, it makes things a lot more complicated for the listener. But okay, but the candidate, is willing to speak at length, and candidate can communicate his ideas relatively clearly in English. Good stuff. So the task in task 2 is to describe a TV show or series that you like. So you get to activate a lot of language here connected to TV and films, and maybe even to stories and things like this. Cool, and say why you like it so much. So there's an emotive element here. You can talk about some emotions, how it makes you feel. Let's see how the candidate does. Okay, so that's the end of your preparation time. To remind you, you will have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
The TV show I would like to talk about is Ittadi.
I didn't quite get that name, and I think that's an audio problem.
About is Ittadi.
Yeah, I didn't get the name of the TV show.
Ittadi is quite popular TV program in our country.
Okay, it's a quite popular TV program. Fine. What's it about?
Especially, I have been watching this show from my childhood.
Cool, I have been watching. This is good complex grammar, but since my childhood, not from my childhood, but okay.
I still remember when I was in school, and that's the time.
Okay, I still remember when I was in school. Please tell me what the show is about, because I didn't get the name because there was an audio breakup, and I just want to know what the show is about, or what kind of a show. Is it a drama? Is it a comedy? Is it a reality TV show? Is it a documentary?
I spent whole of my day to watch this show
Okay, I spent my whole day watching, not. Oh, but I'm not going to focus on the minor mistakes. We know that there's going to be a lot of minor mistakes. That's okay.
because this show is quite popular that all of the ages people
Okay, we know it's popular. You've mentioned it's popular.
they can watch this show.
All the Bangladesh people can watch this show. Yeah, that's what it means to be popular. But what is the show about? Please tell me.
Actually, this show represent our culture and tradition, and
Okay, it represents your culture and tradition. So is it a documentary or is it a reality TV show? Or it represents your culture. Cool, awesome. But what is the show? Is it a drama? Is it fictional? Is it a documentary? Is it a news show? Is it a talk show?
at the same time, this show also quite popular because this
You've mentioned that it's popular now three
show
times.
represent the people who are really struggling in their life,
Again, we get struggling. I think that's now the sixth time. What is the show?
and after that they gain success. Especially this show is related to my life, and
They can success. Again, that's quite weak.
I have seen lots of program in this TV show, and
I have seen lots of program in this TV show. I don't know what that means. Episodes, maybe?
there are lots of people they're really struggling in their life.
Seven. We're on count seven for struggling in their life.
They can get proper institution, they can get proper healthcare service. They're also struggling to live their life.
That's eight struggle. I'm not going to count the struggling anymore. That's just too much. You're repeating the same vocab.
After that, they continue hardworking, and then they can succeed
Continue working hard is better.
in their life. Right now, they are the role model of our country. So this kind of person are highly we could show this kind of people in this TV program. So after that, we are motivated, and I'm really grateful to watch this show because this show highly inspire me to be success like
Inspires me to be successful.
this great person. So and this show within 2 years, this show become widely popular in our country.
I didn't quite get that pronunciation.
Like this great person. So and this show within 2 years, this show become widely
This show I didn't get it. Sorry.
popular in our country. So right now, still now, this show is popular, and
Now we've had, I think, 5 times candidate mentions that it's popular.
there are all of ages people. They also watch this show, and the most interesting thing of this shows that people actually they actually they can watch the real thing. Actually, they can
Just loading up on these actuallys now.
when they watch this show, they can compare themselves in reality. So that's why people they like to watch this show, and I always fascinated to watch this show because this show helped me to be hard worker, and in this show I also be motivated
Okay,
the
thank you.
importance of my
Okay. Yeah, this is bad with fluency and coherence, and the reason why is because I still don't know. The candidate has been speaking for 2 minutes, and I still have absolutely no idea what this show is about. I know that it represents culture, right? It represents the candidate's culture. That's what I know, but I still don't know what kind of a show it is. I know it kind of shows people who are struggling and then they become successful, but I don't know if it's like a soap opera, drama, reality TV show. I have no idea. And to spend 2 minutes talking about a TV show or series that you like, if the listener still has absolutely no idea what this show or TV series is, that becomes a problem. Candidate repeats ideas over and over. It's popular, it's popular, it's popular, it's popular. People are struggling, people are struggling, people are struggling. But yeah, not enough, unfortunately. Yeah, so a real breakdown there with fluency and coherence. But um, everything else, grammar the same, generally easy to understand the candidate's grammar, but just full of basic errors. Vocab is okay. He does repeat ideas a lot, but that really influences his fluency and coherence more than his vocab. Still think his vocab is decent, but when you repeat the same language, it's difficult to, you know, show off then other bits of vocab. So let's get to part
I
three.
like why
Thank you. So you've yeah, and always I know sometimes there's a delay on Zoom, but once the candidate says thank you, that's your signal to stop talking. In talking about this TV show that you like, let's talk about film and TV now. What kind of TV shows or films are popular in your country?
there are lots of TV shows in our country popular. For example,
There are lots of TV shows in our country popular. Yeah, it's grammatically strange.
the traditional shows and cultural shows are quite popular,
Okay,
especially
culture shows, that kind of makes
in
sense.
our country. People they are more serious about their culture and traditions. That's why I could say in our country, when
Get so many that's why's.
any cultural shows broadcast in the TV, that's time people
Show again, pronunciation is breaking down here. Show bodkas.
any cultural shows broadcast in the TV. That's
Show bodkas in the TV. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
time people they watch these shows, and that's why I could say this kind of shows are quite popular in our country.
Now, some people say that the quality of films and TV shows is getting worse. What do you think?
I think it depends. If you're talking about the
It just depends.
people who are not more interested to watch TV shows or who are not interested to make their time in the way, they are thinking that it's a waste of time because
So, candidate says some people who don't watch TV think it's a waste of time. Okay, but that doesn't address the question. What do you think of the opinion that the quality of TV shows is getting worse? Do you think that, TV shows in the past were better and TV shows now are worse? Or do you disagree and think that actually they're getting better? That's the question that you need to answer.
they are not interested. For example, if you think the people who are get older, so that's they are not
Candidate is going off topic and just talking about some people are not interested in TV shows. That's not what the question wants. The question wants your opinion about whether TV shows are getting better or getting worse.
interested to watch TV shows because they can't compare themselves with with these TV shows because that's time they feel more comfort to spend time with their granddaughter, with children. So that's
Candidate isn't giving any opinion on whether the quality of TV shows is getting better or worse.
I would say it's depend on person. Yeah,
Now, cinemas today aren't as popular as they used to be, and some people think that we will stop going to cinemas to watch movies in the future. What do you think? This is a future time question, so candidate is invited to make predictions here.
the present situation we could see that people are lost their hope to watch cinema
People are lost their hope to watch cinema. Yeah, many problems there.
because right now people they easily can watch any kind of movie or any kind of things in internet like social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And someone they also can purchase this movie in the website. So that's why they don't need to go cinema hall
Okay, that makes sense, right? That's a coherent answer. Nowadays, people can purchase movies online or watch movies online, so they don't need to go to the cinema hall. But can we get a prediction about the future?
because they easily can get it. And so that's why I guess in the future it can be happen that all of cinema will be
Yeah, and the only predictive language, it can be happen. So can as a predictive modal doesn't really work, and can be happen, it might happen, fine. It can be happen.
stops because right now we could see that especially in our country there are a huge number of cinema hall are stops right now. So that's why I could say in the future it can be happen.
And again, we get this repetition of that's why in the future it can be happen. Now let's move on and talk about interesting characters. What makes an interesting character in a story? Okay, so again, we're looking for the candidate's opinion of what makes an interesting character. Does the candidate like characters who maybe learn something, or characters who are brave, or characters who are super intelligent, or candidates who learn, I don't know, the value of something? But what is it that makes an interesting character?
I think the character is quite interesting.
Character is quite interesting. That's not the question. It's not are characters interesting or not. It is what makes the character interesting. What is it about a character in a movie, in a book, in a story? What are some traits? What are some features of that person that make that character interesting? That's what you should explore here.
In film. For example, in film, actually, people they are more fascinated when they show any kind of character. Like those people, they at the beginning of their life, they're really struggling. They're
Yeah, we get the struggling,
struggling to lead their life. They're struggling to
struggling,
get proper
struggling. I think we're over 10 times now you've used this word struggling in the IELTS test.
education and proper. They can't belong a healthier family. But after that, they are doing hard work, and after that, they gain success in their life.
And notice how the answer here is pretty much exactly the same as the candidate's answer in part two when he was talking about that story. So again, the candidate really relies on repeating ideas to speak at length.
So this kind of story are quite popular in our country because there are huge number
The the question was not what type of stories are popular in your country. The question is what makes an interesting character, what features.
of young people they watch movie and films. So that's why I think this kind of character related to their lives. So I think this kind of character are quite popular in our country.
Which characters do you think are more interesting, fictional characters or real life characters?
From my perspective, as
Cool, I like this from my perspective. Cool.
real life character is quite popular in our country.
It's not what character is popular in your country. And again, the candidate repeats this over and over. What is popular in your country? What is popular in your country? What is popular in your country? The question is, what do you think, right? Do you think fictional characters are more interesting than real life characters or the opposite, and why? Not what is popular in your country.
Because when we watch any kind of film, that's time we compare ourselves in real life. So that's why in real life character is quite popular because in film the main purpose of us that we are not
I love this. The main purpose of it's really good. Again, the candidate does have decent vocabulary. It's there.
getting entertainment, but also we are looking to compare ourselves in real life so that we when we watch any kind of film, we not just spend our time. We also executed that thing in our real life. So that's why I think that real life character is quite important.
But don't you think that people can also compare themselves to fictional characters that they see in films?
I think it depends. Those people, they are not interested to compare themselves in their real life. This kind of people
Don't know what that means. Those people are not interested to compare the people in the real life. Yeah, I just don't know what that means. Sorry.
always prefer that it's more better for them to thinking about imagination. So because uh, they are that kind of people we could see they are not hard worker. They are not
Again, for many, in so many answers now, he's also spoken about being hardworking, right? Met a few times in part two, a few times in part three. So again, the candidate really has a very limited, like, range of ideas. Maybe I don't know what it is. I don't know why the candidate, maybe it's a vocabulary thing, maybe it's a fluency thing. I don't know, but the candidate just relies on a few things. What is popular in my country, people struggle in their lives, and um yeah, and this idea here, which I've,
this kind of people always prefer that it's more better for them to
and being hardworking. Yeah, sorry.
thinking about imagination. So because uh, they are that kind of people we could see they are not hard worker. They are not imagining themselves in reality because they think if they imagine themselves in reality, it will be more difficult for them.
More difficult. We get this a lot in the test too.
So that kind of people are usually like the character which is fiction.
Mhm. And finally, why are so many people interested in famous historical characters?
Um, um, From my perspective, especially
So yeah, I liked the from my perspective the first time, but you don't want from my perspective answer and then the next question from my perspective answer kind of makes it formulaic. It's okay to use it a couple of times in the test, but maybe not back-to-back questions. There are lots of things from my perspective, in my opinion, if you ask me, as far as I'm concerned, I would say, so we do have greater flexibility. We have a lot more options that you can use.
there are a huge number of people actually they like to belong their culture and tradition.
Again, culture and tradition, same ideas mentioned repeatedly.
Their So those kind of people actually always prefer to historical character, because in historical character is motivated people, because when someone
Here we go. This Hoen, Hoen.
they follow the historical character, so that's time they get energy to success in their life, and the historical character also help them to know their culture and traditions. So it's give them
Again, we keep coming back to this culture and
a
traditions.
confidence that help them to be successful. So that's why I think that
Help them to be successful. We keep coming back to this idea.
there are a huge number of people they like to follow the historical characters.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the test.
So
All right, so let's get into some marks. Fluency and coherence. I'm going to give 5 for this. So, the candidate. It's quite easy to give this. The candidate can speak at length. However, he relies on repeating ideas far too much. A decent range of connectives, but repeats that's why over and over. Cool. So can you speak at length? Yes. Are you comfortable speaking at length? Yes, but only if you repeat your ideas and you have to keep using this. That's why. Excuse me. Have another dry kind of cough. But lexical resource. I'm going to be brutal here. I'm going to award the 5. I'm going to award the 5 because in spite of some good flashes of topic specific vocab, you definitely have decent vocab at B2, maybe even C1, closer to B2. But in spite of these flashes of topic specific vocab, your repetition of vocab, especially struggling, difficult, traditional, hardworking, just how many times you repeat that vocab, I'm for that reason, just because it's formulaic and it's just repeating the same vocab over and over again, I'm pulling it down to a 5. And it makes your speaking formulaic. Almost every answer is like, what music do you listen to? Oh, I like music that where people are struggling and it's difficult for me, and people who are hardworking and it can be a success. We get that language for all questions, no matter what the topic is. So it becomes a bit generic, a bit formulaic. So for me, 5. Grammatical range and accuracy is 5. I don't think it's as bad as a 4. I think there are, the basics. The basics, like speaking at the sentence level, word order, are there. However, there are small, minor mistakes in pretty much every sentence. I don't think you had maybe you had a couple of short sentences that didn't have mistakes. I don't know, but pretty much in every sentence we have some small mistake, whether that's the wrong verb form, whether that's using singular versus plural, whether that's using third person s, whether that's using don't have versus haven't. It's just these tiny mistakes appear everywhere, and that's also true in your collocations with your vocab too. Pronunciation is, decent enough. I think it's 6. So on the whole, on the whole, it's easy enough to understand you. Your intonation is all right, but is sometimes negatively affected by how fast you speak. Easy enough to understand you. I don't think you quite have enough for the band 7. But yeah, certainly at the band 6 level, upper intermediate for pronunciation, fine. So overall, initially when I marked the candidate, I thought, he's a decent band 6. I thought, 6, apart from grammar, which I thought was 5. Initially, I thought the candidate score was 5.5. Now looking back, for me, it is closer to a 5.0. Sorry about that. My first impressions are generally a little bit more generous than my second impressions. So overall for me, 5.0, which is a score of B1, intermediate. We all know that on this channel, when I have Bangladeshi candidates, they almost always get much higher scores when they take the test for real. I don't have an explanation for why this happens. It doesn't happen with candidates from other parts of the world where my marking tends to be, very accurate. For some reason, with Bangladeshi candidates, sometimes I remember one guy I gave 4.5 and he got 6.5 in the test. And I blew my mind, absolutely blew my mind. But this happens quite often with Bangladeshi candidates. So if the candidate gets 6.5 in the real test, I will not be surprised anymore because I don't know what is happening. But for some reason, the marks that I give for Bangladeshi candidates tend to be much lower than candidates actually get in the real test. So, don't know. Yeah, areas of improvement. So there are quite a lot of things here. Now, of course, I could say something simple like you have to minimize or you have to learn basic grammar. Present simple, present continuous, past simple, little bit of modals, future with be going to and will. The most basic stuff in grammar. Candidate just doesn't have foundational understanding of, verb forms in English. Yeah, that's something I could put. More specifically, I would say try to calm down and speak more deliberately. Okay, more purposefully, let's say. My brain just froze. Try to calm down and speak more purposefully. Think about what you want to say, and most importantly, answer the question directly. Answer the questions directly. It will help you. A direct answer, a little bit of a follow up. What music do you like? Oh, I'm a big fan of rock music. I listen to it every day, and my favorite band is Led Zeppelin. Okay, cool. Nice, simple, easy to understand, on point and accurate. When did you last go to a concert? Ooh, I think it was a long time ago, maybe 1 year ago, but it was a very big concert. It was in a stadium, and I saw the famous British rock band Muse. I enjoyed it actually, but my friend who I went with, he said they were terrible. That's it. That's great. We don't need to speak too quickly. We don't need to go off on topic. We don't need to add layer upon layer upon layer upon layer so that, a question, how do you celebrate your birthday, ends up with, I feel bad when poor people don't have proper education, right? That's too far. You've gone too far off topic. So you have to try to speak more purposefully, more deliberately. Um, Anything else that I want to add to this? Yes, you have to avoid using the same vocab to answer every question, right? There's a reason why there are a bunch of different themes in IELTS because, they have music because they want to know, can you activate vocabulary connected to music? Then they choose films because there's different type of vocab we need. Friends and family, different type of vocab. History, different type of vocab. Education, different type of vocab. And if you're answering every question with can be successful, or people are struggling in their life, or it makes it more difficult, or that they are a hard worker, it shows that you don't have enough vocab to deal with a variety of topics. You only have a very limited, what we say, communicative repertoire. And so you have to, stop avoiding that stuff. Some other things like the fingerprint language, like actually, to be honest, you have to cut down on how much you use that language. But yeah, for me, score of 5.0. But of course, candidates do not lose hope, because we know in Bangladesh, examiners, I guess examiners who are more familiar with patterns of Bangladeshi language, maybe they see reasons to award higher marks than someone like myself who hasn't, worked officially with Bangladeshi candidates. So yeah, I don't know. So don't lose hope. I certainly see a lot of potential in you. And I think, you could get to that 6.0. If you get more than 6.0, I will be very surprised if you get 6.5. I don't see, two areas where you could get a 7. Potentially for vocab, if you had a bit more variety, potentially I think you could get a 7 for vocab. But I don't see. Yeah, I would be surprised if you get a 6.5. For me, yeah, score 5.0, B1. Yeah, so sorry if this was a little bit negative. Again, when you have slightly lower level candidates, you see a lot more grammar mistakes, and so those things kind of catch your attention. I don't mean to be negative. I only want the candidate to see what score he would get, in my opinion, and to explain all of those reasons. And I'm sure the candidate is more interested in the negative things that he can fix rather than the positive things. And there certainly are positive elements to the candidate's language. Let's not forget about that. Yeah, but I hope you found this breakdown of the candidate speaking useful. If you'd like your own free practice speaking test with this type of feedback, or if you would like me to give you feedback on your IELTS writing tasks, you can request this on my Telegram channel, Expert Examiner. A link to this channel is given in the description below. I will leave it there for now. See you all very soon. Bye bye.